True strength is revealed not when everything is calm, but when you are tested in the heat of accusation. Jasmine Crockett showed us that standing firmly in your truth, even when challenged by authority, is the ultimate form of power. Strength is not proven in silence, it is not demonstrated when life is smooth and people applaud you without hesitation. It comes alive when you are pushed against the wall, when your integrity is questioned, and when voices of doubt rise louder than your own heartbeat. At that exact moment, many people crumble, retreat, or allow fear to dictate their response. But the ones who rise, the ones who use the storm as a platform, become unforgettable. Jasmine Crockett's moment before Judge Andrew H. Stones was exactly that, an example of what happens when unshakable truth collides with unfounded accusation. We live in a world where accusations are easy to make and difficult to fight. Words can be twisted, reputations can be tarnished, and assumptions can spread faster than facts. In those situations, the temptation is to panic, to explain endlessly, or even to apologize for things you never did. Yet strength is measured by the ability to hold your ground, to remember who you are when others attempt to paint a different picture of you. Jasmine didn't flinch. She didn't allow the weight of authority or the harshness of a false charge to silence her. She used clarity, composure, and courage, showing that dignity is the weapon of the strong. Strength in adversity has always been the mark of leaders and changemakers. Think about the great figures in history who were accused, doubted, or disrespected. Their greatness wasn't confirmed when everyone praised them, it was revealed when they were tried by fire. Martin Luther King Jr. faced endless accusations, Nelson Mandela endured years of being branded unjustly, and yet their truths echoed louder than any lie. Jasmine's clapback was not on the same global scale, but the principle remains the same. When you stand firmly in your truth, you become unmovable, and that unmovable stance inspires others to do the same. Every single one of us will face accusations in life. They may not come from a judge or in a courtroom, but they will come in different forms. People will question your motives, your character, your honesty, and sometimes even your worth. How you respond in those moments defines the trajectory of your journey. If you bow down, you let the accuser win. If you fight with anger, you risk losing your credibility. But if you choose composure, if you decide to let your truth shine without compromise, you send a message that no accusation has the power to change your identity. Jasmine Crockett mastered this in her response, reminding us that real power is not in shouting the loudest, but in standing the firmest. What makes this example even more inspiring is that it was not just a battle between two individuals, it was a reflection of a broader reality. Many people, especially women and people of color, face accusations not because of what they have done, but because of what others assume about them. The stereotypes, the biases, the prejudices, they all create situations where strength must be proven in ways that others never experience. When Jasmine stood before Judge Stones, she wasn't just defending herself, she was representing every person who has ever been told they were lying, exaggerating, or unworthy of being believed. Her voice became a mirror, showing countless others that they too can respond with dignity and clarity. The viral nature of her clapback shows us something else about strength: it's contagious. People are hungry to see someone stand tall when it matters most. We live in an age where millions scroll through social media not for entertainment alone, but for inspiration. They want to see courage in action, they want to witness resilience, they want proof that the truth can still win in a world of noise. When Jasmine's response went viral, it wasn't just because of the sharpness of her words, it was because of the posture behind those words. It was the energy of someone who refused to bend, someone who would not be reduced to silence, someone who embodied strength in its purest form. Strength, however, is not something that magically appears. It is cultivated over time, through small choices made daily. Every time you stand up for yourself in small matters, you prepare yourself for the bigger tests. Every time you choose to respond with composure instead of chaos, you build inner muscles that carry you into moments of greater trial. Jasmine did not discover her strength in that single moment, it was the product of years of discipline, belief, and resilience. And that is the lesson we can all draw. The way you live every day prepares you for the day when you are truly tested. Strength in accusation also requires perspective. When someone accuses you, their goal is often to destabilize you. They want to see you stumble, they want to see you react emotionally so they can discredit you. But if you understand this tactic, you can reverse the power dynamic. Instead of being thrown off balance, you can see the accusation for what it is, an attempt to distract from your truth. Jasmine recognized this, and instead of reacting emotionally, she leaned on reason. She didn't raise her voice to match his, she raised the clarity of her words to surpass his. That's how strength works. It is not a mirror of aggression, it is a reflection of unshakable truth. Another element of strength we learn from this moment is the importance of authenticity. When you know who you are, no accusation can rewrite your identity. Lies only stick when there is insecurity. But when you are secure in your values, your integrity, and your mission, the words of others lose their power. Jasmine's response was powerful because it was authentic. It was not rehearsed, not scripted, not designed for applause. It was the natural outpouring of someone rooted in truth. That kind of authenticity is magnetic. People listen because they sense that it's real, and in a world filled with facades, realness is revolutionary. Courage also plays an undeniable role. Strength is not simply having the truth, it is the courage to speak it even when the odds are stacked against you. Facing a judge is intimidating. Facing public scrutiny is overwhelming. But courage is not about the absence of fear, it is about choosing action despite fear. Jasmine's clapback was courageous because it was risky. A weaker response could have ended the confrontation quietly. A silent response could have avoided further tension. But silence would have been surrender, and Jasmine chose courage over comfort. That choice is what transformed a confrontation into a viral inspiration. The lesson extends to us all. Life will always present moments where silence feels safer, but silence rarely leads to progress. If you want to live a life of strength, you must be willing to speak when it matters most, to defend yourself when necessary, and to hold your ground when everything pushes you to retreat. That is how reputations are built. That is how legacies are shaped. That is how ordinary people become extraordinary examples. Even more, strength is not just about defending yourself, it's about the ripple effect you create for others. When one person stands strong, others watching gain the courage to do the same. Jasmine's response went viral because people connected with it deeply. They saw themselves in her. They saw their own struggles, their own moments of being misunderstood, their own battles against falsehood. Her clapback became more than a personal defense, it became a communal victory. That's the beauty of strength, it multiplies. One act of courage can ignite courage in thousands. One moment of resilience can spark resilience across the world. And when we think about strength in this way, it's clear that it's not a luxury, but a necessity. Without it, falsehoods win. Without it, fear silences voices. Without it, justice is delayed. But with strength, even the mightiest accusations crumble under the weight of truth. With strength, voices once ignored become amplified. With strength, change becomes possible because people are no longer afraid to face opposition. Jasmine Crockett's story is just one of many, but it stands as a reminder to us all: your truth is your power, and strength is the shield that protects it when others try to tear it down. Confidence is not arrogance, it's the unshakable belief that no one can define your story but you. Jasmine's viral clapback was more than a response, it was a lesson in owning your voice unapologetically. Too often, people confuse confidence with arrogance, as though believing in yourself is something to be ashamed of. Something to hide, or something that needs to be softened so others feel comfortable. But confidence is not about being louder than others, it is not about diminishing those around you, it is not about placing yourself above anyone else. It is about knowing your worth so deeply that no accusation, no doubt, and no dismissal can take it away. That's why Jasmine's moment was powerful. It wasn't simply a sharp response, it was the embodiment of someone who knew her truth and refused to let another person rewrite it. Confidence comes from within, and it begins with the way you see yourself. If you are constantly seeking validation from others, your confidence will always be fragile. The moment criticism comes, the moment someone questions you, your foundation begins to crack. But when confidence is built on self-knowledge, on lived experience, on preparation and values, it becomes unshakable. Jasmine Crockett demonstrated this when she stood her ground. She wasn't waiting for applause, she wasn't waiting for permission, she wasn't waiting for someone to declare her worthy, she carried her own worth into the room. That is the kind of confidence that inspires, the kind that resonates, the kind that makes people stop scrolling on their screens and pay attention. There's a universal truth hidden in that moment. People will always try to define you. They will tell you who you are, who you're not, what you're capable of, and what you'll never achieve. Some will do it out of malice, others out of ignorance, and some out of fear of your potential. If you allow those voices to take root, you begin to live in a story that is not your own. Confidence is the act of reclaiming authorship. It is the refusal to let anyone else hold the pen that writes your narrative. Jasmine reminded us that confidence is not something you ask for, it is something you claim. Owning your voice unapologetically is a radical act in a world that constantly tells people to tone themselves down. Women are often told not to be too loud. People of color are told not to be too bold. Leaders are told not to be too direct. The word too becomes a weapon to suppress voices that threaten comfort zones. But confidence is about refusing to shrink for the sake of someone else's comfort. It is about standing fully in your identity, in your knowledge, in your preparation, and letting your voice take up the space it deserves. Jasmine Crockett did not apologize for speaking with conviction. She did not dilute her truth so that Judge Stones or anyone else would feel at ease. That unapologetic stance is what transformed her words into a moment that resonated far beyond the room. Confidence is also a discipline. It's not something you simply wake up with one day. It grows with practice, with intentionality, and with the decision to show up even when you feel fear. People often mistake confidence for the absence of insecurity. But the truth is, even the most confident people feel doubt at times. The difference is that they choose to move forward anyway. Jasmine's clapback wasn't the product of a sudden surge of bravery, it was the result of years of practice, years of speaking truth, years of refusing to bow to intimidation. Each small decision along the way built the foundation for that viral moment. That is the reminder for all of us, every day is an opportunity to strengthen your confidence. Every time you speak up in a meeting, every time you defend yourself against unfair criticism, every time you stand firm in your decisions, you are training yourself to be unshakable in bigger battles. Confidence also requires clarity. When you know what you stand for, your voice carries more power. People who are unsure of their own values often hesitate when challenged. They second-guess themselves, they backpedal, they dilute their words. But when your values are solid, your response flows naturally. Jasmine didn't stumble because she wasn't inventing a defense, she was simply standing in her truth. That's the beauty of confidence. It doesn't require memorization or rehearsed lines, it requires authenticity. Authenticity is the anchor that keeps you steady when others try to shake you. Another critical aspect of confidence is body language. Long before a word leaves your lips, your presence speaks. The way you hold yourself, the way you carry your posture, the way you make eye contact, all of these things send signals about how much you believe in yourself. Jasmine's confidence was communicated not only in her words but in her demeanor. She didn't flinch, she didn't avert her eyes, she didn't shrink. Her presence matched her voice, and together they created a statement that was undeniable. For anyone striving to build confidence, this is a reminder, your voice matters, but so does the way you embody it. Confidence also means being prepared to face pushback. The moment you step into your power, the world will test it. People will question your intentions, they will challenge your facts, they will try to provoke you into losing composure. That's why true confidence is not reactive, it is proactive. It expects resistance and meets it with readiness. Jasmine didn't lash out in anger or scramble for words, she was steady because she anticipated the challenge and knew who she was before it came. That kind of readiness is a discipline anyone can build. It comes from preparation, from studying, from knowing your craft, and from believing that even if someone else doubts you, your knowledge cannot be erased. There's also a communal aspect to confidence. When one person speaks boldly, others find permission to do the same. Confidence spreads. People watching Jasmine saw a reflection of their own potential. They saw someone standing in a place of power where many have felt silenced. And that sight alone gave them courage. This is why confidence is not selfish. It's not just about elevating yourself, it's about creating space for others to rise with you. Every time you own your voice unapologetically, you send a silent message to those watching, you can too. Confidence does not mean you will never be criticized. In fact, the more confident you are, the more critics you will attract. But criticism is not an indictment of your worth, it's often a sign that your presence is making an impact. People rarely criticize what doesn't matter. The key is to differentiate between constructive feedback and destructive criticism. Confidence allows you to absorb wisdom where it is offered and reject negativity where it is intended to tear you down. Jasmine understood this distinction, which is why she did not crumble under the weight of the judge's words. She recognized them for what they were, an attempt to discredit. Her response proved that her sense of self was stronger than any attempt to diminish it. Confidence is also about persistence. It's not about winning one confrontation, it's about living a lifetime of owning your voice. A single viral moment can inspire, but the real test is whether you can carry that confidence into every season of your life. Jasmine's moment serves as a reminder that confidence is not situational, it's a lifestyle. It's the decision to wake up every day and walk in your truth regardless of who questions it. Ultimately, confidence is not arrogance because arrogance is rooted in insecurity. Arrogance needs others to feel small so it can feel big. Confidence, on the other hand, is rooted in truth. It does not require diminishing anyone else, it does not demand validation, it does not crumble under scrutiny. It simply is. And when you stand in that kind of confidence, you inspire others to do the same. Jasmine Crockett's Clapback was more than a viral moment. It was a masterclass in how unshakable belief in yourself transforms confrontation into inspiration, and doubt into empowerment. Viral moments aren't just about words, they're about impact. Jasmine reminded us that when you speak with clarity, conviction, and courage, your truth doesn't just defend you, it inspires millions. In today's world, a single sentence, a brief exchange, or even a few seconds of raw authenticity can spread across the globe in minutes. But what truly makes something viral is not the sharpness of the language alone, it is the weight of meaning behind it. When Jasmine Crockett responded to Judge Andrew H. Stone's, it wasn't just a clash in a courtroom or a political moment captured on camera. It became something larger because people connected with the energy, the authenticity, and the fearlessness she displayed. That's what separates fleeting noise from enduring impact. Impactful words carry power because they align with truth. Anyone can string together clever phrases, but when those words are fueled by conviction, they pierce through distractions and touch something deeper in people. Jasmine's response did that. She didn't speak to impress, she spoke because she believed in what she was saying. And belief carries a vibration that people can feel, even through a screen. That's why her clapback didn't just silence an accusation, it sparked conversations, inspired admiration, and created a ripple effect of empowerment. People weren't sharing her moment because it was entertaining, they were sharing it because it represented something they needed to hear and feel themselves. Clarity is at the heart of impact. In a world filled with noise, confusion, and manipulation, clarity cuts through like a sword. When you speak clearly, you make it impossible for others to twist your words. You leave no room for misinterpretation, and you assert your truth in a way that is undeniable. Jasmine's moment went viral because she left no doubt about where she stood. She didn't stumble, she didn't waver, she didn't dilute her message. Her clarity was a reflection of preparation, of knowing her values, of understanding her position, and of refusing to be rattled by authority. That's the kind of clarity we all need to cultivate, not just for the sake of going viral, but for the sake of living lives that matter. Conviction is equally essential. Words without conviction are hollow. People can sense when someone is speaking just to sound clever or just to win an argument. But when someone speaks with deep conviction, the energy shifts. Conviction makes people lean in, pay attention, and consider perspectives they might otherwise dismiss. Jasmine's response carried conviction because it wasn't just about winning a point, it was about defending her integrity. And that kind of conviction resonates universally. Everyone knows what it feels like to be misunderstood, to be questioned, to be wrongly accused. Her conviction tapped into a shared human experience, and that's why it spread. Conviction turns personal defense into communal empowerment. Then there is courage. Courage is the spark that transforms ordinary words into extraordinary impact. Without courage, words often remain locked inside, stifled by fear of judgment or retaliation. Courage is what makes a person stand up and speak when silence would be easier. Jasmine demonstrated that courage when she responded to Judge Stone's. The power dynamic was tilted against her. The pressure of the moment could have silenced her. The potential consequences could have made her retreat. But courage overpowered fear, and because of that, her words traveled far beyond the moment they were spoken. Courage is contagious. When one person chooses bravery, others watching feel braver too. What's fascinating about viral impact is that it cannot be manufactured in its truest form. Many people try to go viral by staging dramatic moments, by creating shock value, or by chasing attention. But those things often fade quickly because they lack authenticity. Authenticity is the fuel that sustains viral impact. Jasmine wasn't trying to create a viral moment, she was simply standing in her truth. And because it was real, because it was raw, because it was unfiltered courage and conviction, people trusted it. They saw it as genuine, and in a world where so much feels fake, genuine truth becomes magnetic. Impact also extends far beyond the original context. Someone who watched that moment might have felt inspired to speak up in their own workplace. Another might have gained the courage to confront a situation in their personal life. Others might have simply felt validated, seen, or reassured that they are not alone in facing false accusations or unfair treatment. That's the beauty of moments like these, they plant seeds in people's hearts. Long after the headlines fade, the inspiration continues to grow quietly in the lives of those who were touched by it. The ripple effect of impact can't be underestimated. One voice inspires 10 inspire hundreds, and hundreds inspire millions. Jasmine's moment was one example of how truth multiplies when it is spoken boldly. We often underestimate the reach of our words, assuming they only affect the people in the room. But in a digital age, a single act of courage can circle the world. That's both a responsibility and an opportunity. It means that every time you choose to speak with clarity, conviction, and courage, you could be influencing lives you will never see, shaping narratives you will never know about, and inspiring strengthened people you will never meet. Impact also requires responsibility. Viral moments have power, and power can either build or destroy. That's why speaking with clarity, conviction, and courage is so important. It ensures that the impact you leave behind uplifts rather than diminishes. Jasmine's words lifted people. They didn't just silence an accusation, they gave others a model for how to respond to injustice. That's the kind of impact that creates legacy, because it's rooted in principles that are bigger than the moment itself. For anyone seeking to live a life of impact, Jasmine's example is a guide. Speak with clarity, know your values, organize your thoughts, and present your truth in a way that cuts through confusion. Speak with conviction, don't water down your beliefs to appease others, and don't hesitate when you know you are standing on solid ground. Speak with courage, choose to voice your truth even when it's risky, even when you are outnumbered, even when authority looms against you. When you combine those three elements, you don't just defend yourself. You create waves of inspiration that touch countless lives. And that is the deeper lesson behind viral moments. They are not about attention, they are about influence. They are not about being seen, they are about being remembered. They are not about fleeting applause, they are about lasting change. Jasmine Crockett's Clapback went viral because it embodied the kind of strength, clarity, and courage that people crave to see in the world and long to embody themselves. When one person dares to live that way, the world takes notice, and millions find the encouragement to do the same in their own battles.